Avengers Infinity War is a culmination of 10 years of Marvel films. And I've seen each one of them at least 3 times. Probably most of them at least like 4 or 5 times. And, as a fan and just as a moviegoer, Avengers Infinity War had anything I could have really ever wished for in an Avengers movie.
You will know what it's like to lose. To feel so desperately that you're right, yet to fail all the same. Dread it. Run from it. Destiny still arrives.
So first off, I'm going to try to keep the main part of my review as bereft of spoilers as I can possibly manage. And then I'll do a little bit of spoilers all the way at the end after I give it a score. And just because I want to talk about some of the, what I think this movie may mean for the future of the MCU and some things about that. But, with no spoilers, I would say this movie was such an amazing movie-going experience. Because, my closest IMAX theater is like 2 hours away. But, I made the trip to it. It's actually in Dixon City. And they, I've been to that theater and a couple other IMAX theaters I've tried out that maybe a little bit further away. And this was the biggest crowd I've ever seen in an IMAX theater, and really the biggest crowd I've ever seen in a theater. But our area isn't that big, so you don't really get sold out theaters. But this one, it was pretty damn close to sold out, and it was bigger than the normal screening, because the IMAX screening, so a couple hundred people, and you could feel like the emotion of the crowd, like people were cheering and clapping when like things pop up or really cool moments, and then some moments like they're like completely quiet or you're groaning, or that this is following the flow of the movie, and it's such a really interesting experience. I've had bits and pieces of that before, but nothing quite like this. And I think it's because, just like me, probably everyone in the theater has seen every movie, so it's that is you're so invested in all these characters that, it's amazing to see this movie. And I will say that, in general, a lot of the movies have had a villain problem, and that problem is solved with Thanos and the children of Thanos. For the trailers, I wasn't sure how good the CGI for Thanos would be, but it is great. He looks like a real character. Yeah, he does a little bit of a bald chin and looks a little bit like a purple Homer Simpson, but that's what Thanos looks like. And through all his action, it was really good. And when he interacts with other characters, it looks great. That one of the biggest faults of CGI is generally when CG characters interact with non-CG characters, and they did really well here. And the children of Thanos, each one has a different thing to offer, and I love that they're almost mini bosses. And it's great because the Avengers can fight them, and they can, they're not as difficult as the main boss, Thanos. So they can, have different interactions with them, and so really, throughout the movie never stops. Because, there's action throughout it. It's not it's all leading up to one big battle. Yeah, there's a big battle, but there's a lot of steps towards the end. It's all just amping up, and there's just so many great moments in this movie. It's jam-packed. It's 2.5 hours, and with trailers, it's a 3-hour movie, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a 3.5-hour cut out there, because I will say that some characters get a little bit of a short shrift, and you have so many characters, what are you going to do? It's bound to happen. But I really like how they parsed out the different threads of the story, because you really have different teams. You have the Avengers are pretty big right now, so you have different teams and 3 different settings kind of taking place at the same time. Well, the main setting is on Earth, and then there's stuff going on in space, and the space is cut up in 2 or 3 at different times. And you have everyone You're trying to prepare for Thanos, trying to outwit Thanos, and Thanos outwitting them. And you see, like, so many things, there's so many callbacks to all different movies that's really impressive. Like, especially one that, at one point, I did not expect at all. And, like, there's so many great moments that it's just such an amazing film. It's really gorgeous at times, too. Like, the CGI for the different planets, they're all, like, really kind of unique. And, I mean, especially an IMAX screen, it just kind of envelops you. And, like, the only CGI that is kind of questionable is, again, like, the Spider-Man and Iron Man. And not when they're actually doing stuff, it looks amazing. But, I've always found in every Iron Man movie, when he, the suit is generally, and sometimes they might have, like, a real suit, but generally it's just, he's in probably, like, a spandex with dots all over him. And, that's how he's with the other, interacting with the other characters. And I've always found that it looks a bit like a decapitated head floating around on an Iron Man body. Like, it doesn't quite match. Like, it looks, something about the edges, like, it's really noticeable. And it's still noticeable in here. And I love the, Spider-Man gets the Iron Spider suit that was teased at the end of the Spider-Man movie. And the suit's awesome during the action, but then when he's just kind of talking to people, without the helmet on, he too looks like a floating head. And I know even some of the interviews, like Tom Holland was talking about how, like, he was among all the other characters with these awesome outfits. And the outfits, the costume design this is amazing. Like, the outfits are, whew. And then you have, I think he said that I'm there in a spandex with dots and, like, a camera looking at my face. And it's kind of funny. And, one complaint that a lot of people have had about the Marvel films is, especially, like, lately, is that when they feel like a scene is getting too serious, they interject humor into it. And sometimes it's, like, too much. Like, you don't have to inject humor into it. Like, you can just have a serious scene. And thankfully, Infinity War does not do that at all. Like, when there are serious scenes, they are serious. They're incredibly serious. But then they also know that if you just have a whole movie that was nothing but serious, it would be a downer. So like, in between some of the action set pieces, when all the characters are meeting each other and interacting with each other, there is a lot of humor. Especially from the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, everything with them has funny stuff in it. And that's it. I really liked how each team in the movie kind of had, like, a different dynamic. And, like, it felt like, especially Guardians of the Galaxy, it felt like, it was almost like it was a Guardians of the Galaxy movie within an Avengers movie. And I really liked how they managed that. The Russo brothers really did a superb job of directing this beast of a movie. And, I mean, it's really so little that I can complain about. Like, I mean, there's not much. I mean, I was so enthralled seeing this movie. And I think the only thing I can complain about is that it is a bit of a drain. A bit of emotional drain that you go through this roller coaster of a film. And I honestly don't know if people are going to rewatch it a lot. Like, for me, I really wouldn't mind going again this weekend to see it. But I think I'll wait another week or two to see it before I see it again, just to let it sit a little. And, but at the same time, it's draining, It's not a normal movie. And especially because, everyone knows that there's a two-parter. So, I mean, you have the next Avengers movie coming out next summer. So, it's not, like, it does have a beginning, middle, and end. But it's not like a full ending, You get, like, they can't have it because then you wouldn't have another Avengers movie next year. And I really wonder what they're going to call it. At first, they're saying Part 2. But I wonder what it'll be called. It'll be interesting to see. I was so hyped for this movie, and I tried to limit my expectations just because if they're too high, like, nothing could ever meet them. But I mean, this like blew away my expectations. Like, it had anything that I could have wanted from this movie was in it. And I can't wait to see what they do with the MCU next. And I just like Thanos was such a great villain. And I mean, like, I like how like he is kind of like one of the main characters in this movie. Like, it's not just like you see him a bit and like they have to fight him. You can kind of see what his goal is. His goal, and it's slightly different than the comics, but I understand why. In the comics, he essentially wants to destroy half of the universe, or like half the universe population, or whatever, to show his love for the goddess of death. And like, there's a lot of stuff where he's like in love with death. There's this whole thing about that, and I think that'd be tougher to do because the actual magic and stuff like that hasn't been explored that much in the MCU. And there's also like the actual only goddess of death we've seen would be Hela, and she apparently died in the last Thor movie. So in this one, it's much more that Thanos wants to bring balance to the universe. And it's kind of like an altruistic goal. It's just that in bringing balance, he wants to murder half of the population in the entire universe. And like when I think about that, not just that because there's so many people dying, but I mean, this is like that. Is that truly an answer? That I mean, there's so many other ways you could solve like population growth or anything like that. Like, and to think that everyone in the universe needs to be had. It caused so much trauma, and also it caused so much loss of life. But more that, like, it caused like he said the big idea that he wants to make it so that young, old, rich, poor, it's everyone. It's just equally. It's no choosing. It's just half of them dead. And that, like, when you see that, that's kind of fair. But at the same time, if that happened, would people like Einstein or all these exceptional people, they would just never exist if you just killed half of them, because you're not being you lose so much, so many amazing people if you do that. And I like though that he has a reason for what he's doing, and it's not just creating a sky beam to create a sky beam. There is no sky beam in this. And, it's... I really like Thanos as a villain. And again, I really liked, each of his different, the children of Thanos, and how they have like, almost like a team that goes against the teams of the Avengers. I would, give it a movie a 10 out of 10. I loved it. It's not much I didn't like. And I would definitely recommend it. And that's the thing, I mean, if you've never seen a Marvel movie, I don't know if you could just watch this and enjoy it. I mean, they give you enough that you could just watch it and enjoy it as a movie, but I don't think you'd want to start here. Like, I mean, if you had to start fresh and with a very limited amount of movies, I mean, personally, I'd say, like, do Avengers, Captain America 2, Captain America 3, and, like, the 2 Guardians movies, and then Black Panther and the 3rd Thor. But even that's a lot of homework to do. But, you can get away with doing the first Guardians of the Galaxy, which are my favorite movies, the first Avengers, which are my favorite Marvel movies, and I think I don't know I think maybe just jump to like Black Panther and you don't even have to do Thor. I guess like I think Black Panther is really important to know stuff that's going on, and Thor kind of like links directly into it, the Ragnarok. So yeah, I think those 4. You watch that and then watch this movie. But I think most people, if they would enjoy a movie like Avengers Infinity War, they've been watching the Marvel movies up to here. And it really shows, like, when I watch this, then when I look back at Justice League, and even though I kind of liked Justice League when I saw it, it just is like, it pales in comparison to this. And I don't know what the DC is gonna do. Is when the Marvel Cinematic Universe is so amazing, and I really loved it, and I hope it does really well. So that's the end of my main review, and now I'm gonna go into full spoilers for the movie. And again, like, I'm not gonna go like on and on about it, but if you could have like a hour long movie of talking about everything that happens in this spoiler wise. But I have a couple things I just want to talk about and think about what will happen for the next movie, then what will happen in the MCU. So, full spoiler from now on. This is a warning. But at a certain point, when Thanos finally wins and half the universe disappears in ash with a snap of his fingers, that, was a really powerful moment. But I think they made a mistake in choosing who disappeared. Because, especially, I know, like, a lot of people, they could disappear and they could still work for the next movie. And I know they have reasons for it, but I think the biggest mistake is having Black Panther and Spider-Man disappear. Just because everyone knows that Black Panther and Spider-Man are getting a sequel to their movies. Everyone knows that they're having a Spider-Man 2 and a Black Panther 2. So when you have them disappear, it just tells everyone, oh, they're fine. They're coming back in the next movie, Okay. It's all going to be fine. And I think that, I know everyone knows that eventually the heroes are going to win. But if there was a little more doubt and questioning who's going to survive, I think it would have been better. Because everyone, because those ones died, that it's not going to, everyone that turned into ash is going to come back. I hate that they did that. If right now knows every single person that turned to ash is going to come back. But some people that died earlier in the film, they may be really dead. And the only one I question is Gamora, just because I know they could still have. I know they're having a third Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but the team could be different. However, I wouldn't be surprised if there's something happens along with the Soul Stone, if maybe she could come back too. But I think everyone else, like Loki and some other people that died, I think they are actually dead. But it's just that everyone that turned to ash is going to come back. And, I knew, pretty much everyone knew that would probably happen. But when you have Black Panther and Spider-Man turn to ash, then it's just too simple. Especially Black Panther, because I know Spider-Man served a really important purpose. Because, that's like the closest thing that Iron Man has to a son, kind of. He's like his protege. And having him die in his arms, it's a really emotional part of the movie, and it's a really important part for his character in the universe. So I obviously when Doctor Strange was using his time stone to look in the future at any possible one that they could win, and he only found one way they could win. This is a way they could win, and he had to decide to trade the time stone for Tony's life, and he wouldn't have done that if he didn't know that this is the only way they could win. And like, it's amazing parts in the movie. I just wish they'd done it slightly differently. It'd be really interesting to see, because in July you have Ant-Man and the Wasp, and from everything I've heard, that it takes place before the Avengers Infinity War. I wouldn't be surprised if towards the end of the movie it may be happening at the same time. Like, I will not be surprised if you get the end, like it's standalone for most of it, and then at the end, like in the epilogue, like is when like everyone turns to ash. And I wouldn't be surprised if either Ant-Man or a Wasp turns to ash, and one or the other one has to go into the quantum world to try to save them, and they does some sort of timey-wimey stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happens. And I'm looking forward to Ant-Man and the Wasp. It'll be interesting to see. And the next movie, I think, is in February, and that is Captain Marvel. And I really liked her character in the books, although when they did the Civil War in this last series of books, I didn't like her character at all, and I didn't like some of the stuff they did with her, and I stopped reading her. But I mean, I liked a lot of stuff they did the run before that one, and I mean, it's a cool character. And I think that movie takes place in the '90s, and obviously she's out in the universe somewhere doing stuff. And when they call her in at the end, she's gonna come in Avengers 2 and be a big part of it. And I hope the movie is great. But I can't help but think, looking at the slate, like, there is nothing from July to February, and there's also nothing else from Disney. Like, Disney does not have a Star Wars movie. Solo is coming out, I think, in May, or maybe June. I can't remember exactly what it is. But I mean, there is no Disney movie in that Christmas time frame. Like, I mean, and you could make a movie set in this desolated world. With half the population just disappears. I mean, there is a movie in that. Like, I doubt they will, but it'd be cool if Marvel did a surprise, like, Secret Avengers movie or something, like, right around Christmas, about, like, everything that's going on when half the population dies. And I can't help but think, Hawkeye is not in this movie at all, and he's with his family. And after this happened, half of his family is going to be dead, so he's going to be one pissed off Hawkeye. So I think that he'll definitely be a bigger role in the second Avengers. And like, there's the Avengers. Some of the ones that they picked to live were ones that could have easily died. That's again why I think it was a kind of mistake to pick them, because it's obviously that the other ones are going to come back. Although maybe that they did that because these ones could actually die when they're fighting Thanos again. Like, that's kind of interesting. That might happen. But still, I absolutely love the movie, and I would highly recommend it. Like I could talk about this all day, but I think I'm going to end it there. And, if you like this video, thanks for watching. You can subscribe to me, and you can see other video playlists on my head. And that little Z over there, you can subscribe to me, or you can hit the bell to get notifications. And thanks for watching.